I work for Family Promise. I'm the volunteer manager there. I'm part of the Interfaith Hospitality Network team. It's a mouthful, so we just go by IHNT, okay? First and foremost, I just want to say a very big thank you to all of you for being here, for saying yes to this, and for being willing to help those that need the help that we give them. And without you, this couldn't be possible, and so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so just to kind of start to give you a little bit of an idea of who Family Promise is and who do we serve, I'm just going to ask you a quick question. So what do you picture when you think of the word homeless? Is it something a little like this?
Pushing a shopping cart.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's something like this. So our families at Family Promise are very, very different. What they look like are people like you and me and our neighbor next door. And so our homeless shelters, what do you think when you think of a homeless shelter? Rows and rows and rows of beds, no privacy, rows and rows and rows of tables, people being fed. So for us, our day center, where our families spend the day, looks a lot different. It's a refurbished octoplex apartment where our offices are. Then we also have a Glendale Center, which is just a home as well that was refurbished to house the families that we have there. In our day center, in the Octoplex, we have communal housing there, and we have families that stay in a day center, what we call a day center. The whole thing's called the day center, but the one room is also specifically called the day center as well, because those are the groups that come to the congregations. Now, you'll be getting families from Glendale, our Glendale location, for the most part. There may be a spot that we need to fill, which we move you over to Scottsdale, and people will just take a little bit longer to get here. But for the most part, you're going to be getting families. And I haven't looked up how far you are away from the Glendale Center. I know one church was like down the street, so the families leave at 5. And so we usually say that the families will arrive around 5:30, but if you're only 5 minutes away, then they might arrive at 5:05. Just to kind of give you guys a heads up of what that looks like. But in our day center, they have a place where they keep their belongings, where they can apply for jobs on their phones, and utilize resources that we have there. There's a place for the kids to play basketball, we have a jungle gym, and we also have an herb garden there that does that. But our host congregations are really the bread and butter of our program, because you guys will house and feed our families. And so here's a couple of host congregations and what they look like. The good thing about this is then our families have a little bit of privacy. They're able to have rooms set up where they have, it's just the one family in that room. Every once in a while, when we're trying to get more people into the shelter, we will have 2 families that are willing to double up, that we might send you an additional family, because we never want to leave anybody on the street. Anywhere from 50 to 200 families are on the waiting list to seek shelter at any given moment. So it's really important that we say we're only going to send you 4 families, and we will only send you 4 families if that's all you're capable of doing. But if we have the ability to bring in another family, and you are willing and able to accept that additional family, then we will check with you first and send them your way. The biggest thing about our families is that they change all the time. So a key to our program is the word flexibility. Okay, so I say that now, but during your week you will realize just how important that word actually is. So we just have a couple other host congregations here as well. Just a statistic nationwide, families with children comprise about 35% of the homeless population. And I think actually in Arizona it's 40% or something along that lines. It's a little higher here. And 2.5 million children are homeless each year in America. And so this is just to let you know how important what you guys are doing really is. Family Promise specifically is a 60-day program. So our program does not work for everyone because we are a very strict program. And you can only come into our program if you have children under the age of 18. We take care of all the basic needs, toiletries, they have laundry services there, they have showers, they have everything that they might need so that they can focus on getting a job and getting housing. We help them with childcare, and we help them to budget so that they can afford to move out and save that money up for them to be able to have that sustainable housing. And you guys provide the overnight accommodations as well as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we'll talk about exactly what that looks like in a few slides from now. As I told you, I'm part of the IHN team. So we welcome you to Family Promise and the IHN team. As I said, I'm Christina Sharma, and my Director of Interfaith Development, Kathy Kaplan, is another person that will be here to assist you and to take care of anything that might come up that needs addressing. She's awesome. She's a Spitfire. She'll fight for you. She's my favorite. So our goals at Family Promise is really dedicated to building a community. Not just your community, but the greater community of Glendale area, of Phoenix area, of all the surrounding cities that come with Phoenix. We want to build up that community so that the people that are in it are kind, compassionate, loving people. And it's also through strengthening the families that we serve that it helps to build this community. We also believe that every child deserves meals. We also believe that every child deserves a roof over their head, and especially that they know that somebody cares. And especially because children have no control over their situation, this is something that is very, very important and crucial, and why Family Promise does what it does. Our biggest thing when it comes to the parents is that we do not enable, we actually empower. So we are very, very strict on our rules, the things that we do, and the steps that these families have to take. If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, we refer them to other programs that may give them more time to take care of the stuff that they need to take care of. Or maybe they have something that's holding them back that needs to be addressed, that's something we can't handle. So we always refer to other programs when those families aren't accomplishing those tasks so that they can get the help that really works for them. But together, we do this all together, and together we succeed. And our success really is based in our congregations. A lot of our success rate comes from the fact that our families, in this situation, they travel every week to a new congregation, and it's not a very comfortable situation, which is a good thing because it really gives that incentive for these families to get up and get out there and take care of business so that they can be back in the privacy of their own home and taking care of their children and doing what they need to do on their own. And we really can't do this without you. I know I said that. I might say it about 3 or 4 more times. I have no promises that I won't say it again. But the thing that I love the most about our congregations is the way that they make our families feel. The love and the compassion that comes into the way that you serve these families, that you truly show them the dignity and worth that they deserve and that every person in this world deserves. And that really is something beautiful to see, because a lot of times when these families come in, and I see them on their very first day when they come in, you can just tell that there's a cloud over their head, that they're just really struggling with the situation that they're in. And within a few days of being in the program, you can just see the children brighten up, the parents brighten up. You guys are the rays of sunshine that are brought into their lives, and for that we are so grateful, and another reason why we do love our program and the way that our program works. And every team needs a great leader or two. We have Pastor Proctor and Linda that are kind of helping to spearhead this. It's always great when you have the pastors really great support behind you, because then you're able to do a lot more in terms of serving these families. So what can you do? How can you help? What role can you play? So we have set up and take down volunteers, we have meal volunteers, fellowship activities volunteers, overnight volunteers, supply volunteers, and laundry volunteers. Now, you may be here and say, well, I'm just going to do laundry. You're not just doing laundry, you're providing these families with clean sheets for them to feel that they are worth that effort. They are worth everything that you put into it. So no job is just a job. Everyone matters and everything can't function without you, kind of a thing, okay? So the setup and the takedown. We provide 3 rolling duffel bags with air mattresses. And in the future, if you decide that you want to do a fundraiser or a drive where you have people bring in air mattresses for you guys to have your own set, that's something that you can do. But until you decide that, you will if a congregation before you has the mattresses, that congregation, it will deliver them to you on that Sunday because they just finished using them that Sunday morning. So sometime in the afternoon, so you have enough time to set up before the families arrive around 5:30. They deliver the beds to you, and then somebody is in charge of then delivering those beds to the next congregation or back to the Family Promise Day Center. Now, if the congregation doesn't have them, the beds are at the Family Promise Day Center, and that's where you would go to pick them up. And you prepare the rooms in whatever fashion that you see fit. You can, do little touches and streamers or something that you want to decorate, something that makes it hospitality, or you could do nothing. It's not, as you saw in one of the first sets of pictures of the beds, it was just the beds that were in the rooms. There wasn't anything special, but that alone is hospitality enough that they have their own space for them to sleep in and that they can retreat to when they need to. And so it's really like you're bringing, I don't know if any of you guys have ever set up an air mattress in your living room for a family member that's come to visit. It's pretty much very much the same thing. You maybe put a table next to it so that if they have water or something, they can have a place to put their stuff or something like that, where you just are being conscious of what they may need and rising to the occasion to take care of that. At the end of the week, you will deflate the beds. Now, here's something that I found out fairly recently, and it's okay if you didn't know this until today. Air pumps, the electric air pumps, they actually both inflate and deflate. It's so cool. Before we used to only have 2 rolling duffel bags, and so you didn't deflate all the air out of the air mattresses. They didn't fit in the bags. So now we have a little bit of wiggle room with that, but it really helps with the packing and the rolling of the beds to really have all that air out of it. You don't want to really have to, wrestle with the beds that you're rolling up. And so then that's something that's really cool. If you didn't know that until today, that's okay. All right, so for the first night of hosting, one of the things that is really important to do is to make sure that you have a set of guidelines for our family to know that they need to follow. And that might be, okay, here's the designated smoking area. Our families, unfortunately, smoking is a coping mechanism, and as much as we would like for them to give that up, it is one of the last things that they have to hold on to for them to be able to kind of cope with the situation that they're in. So if you don't like having smoking on your campus, that is okay, as long as you designate that they can go out to the sidewalk on the front and smoke out there. You also want to let them know, luckily you guys are going to be hosting in here from what I understand, and so there's not a whole lot of needing to direct people where to eat and sleep because it's all kind of in the same room. A lot of other congregations, they might leave one building to go to the next building, and so there's a little bit more of designating of areas that needs to happen. But just letting the families know which section's theirs, where the restrooms are, and then anything like when you guys are going to choose to do, we recommend lock up and lights out, or lock up at 9 and lights out at 10. But if you want to change that according to your congregation, you are able to. But just after you decide when lockup is, that's after you lock up, the families are not allowed to go back outside to smoke at that point in time. Okay? And then any off-limits areas, you just want to let them know, okay, maybe the kitchen will be off-limits, so you just let them know that that's not where you want them to go. Okay, so then dinner. So dinner is served, our meal volunteers. So meals can be very simple and very complex. Meals can be done by one person, by a group of people, by a family. The sky's the limits. You will be notified on the Thursday before you host of any dietary restrictions. If a new family comes in with new dietary restrictions, then we will let you know that day that they come in. We do not have a crystal ball, so we cannot predict what allergies there might be or might not be. My recommendation is if the food is already purchased for the totality of everybody, and there's an allergy of that food, that there's just a simple additional thing that's made for them. But my other recommendation is offering multiple types of things, like having a main dish and a few sides, so if one person has an allergy to something, they can at least eat the sides, or something like that. And also always incorporating a healthy option in case having a salad and that kind of stuff, it's always important for them. We also recommend that you think of your child when they were little, or yourself when you were little. I always think of myself. We couldn't eat at a restaurant unless it had chicken fingers on the menu when I was a kid. And I would throw a tantrum. Or ketchup. I think I liked ranch at that point in time. Yeah, I was more of a ranch girl since I was little. And I still am. I really am. I just make my own now, so it's just a little different. And just kind of think of, not that casseroles aren't a good option, but we just want to maybe supply something that if the kids look at it and wrinkle their nose, that they might have chicken fingers or something in addition to what is cooked. Because maybe you make an awesome casserole that you just want to share that with the families, and you want to get the kids to try it even though they see all this food mushed together and they're just like, I'm okay. So you're more than welcome to still cook those things as long as you provide something. And that can be as simple as just PB&J on the side. Of course, if there is a severe peanut allergy, then you want to make sure you keep that stuff locked away until that person is not there. But there's definitely other options that you can have that doesn't include peanut butter. And then we also ask that you serve it family style so that the families can put on their plate what they want versus being served. And then that way they can put, if they don't want to eat the broccoli, they don't put the broccoli on their plate. And one of the ways that you can help to serve those families when they're there is the families with little kids that are making, 4 or 5 plates with one mom trying to carry 4 or 5 plates. You can be her tray and hold the plates for her. And then we also encourage you to join the families for dinner, but always ask if it's okay if you join them. Just so, I know there's some congregations that actually leave the families to eat dinner on their own, because it might be one of the only times that they get to have that family time together. And so it's just one of the ways that they do. It's not necessary, it's just, I always give all kinds of ideas, so let those kind of run around in your head and then do what you see fit, or what the Holy Spirit leads you to do, as I always like to say. Breakfast and lunch. So breakfast and lunch supplies is sent to our day center on the Monday after you start hosting. So they come Sunday night as their first night. Monday morning when they go back to the day center, that's when we send the supplies back. My recommendation for this as well is to designate 1 or 2 people to be your supply volunteers and to raise money for them to go and purchase those items. However, we are looking into standardizing a list, a grocery list. So you also might be able to just send that grocery list out to the greater community and ask them to bring a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk or something, and have them bring that on that Sunday service so that you can send it back the next day. So those are all good options that you can look into. And some of those things might be, like I said, bread, milk, lunch meat, cheese, stuff to pack lunches for kids, mozzarella sticks, variety pack of chips, that kind of stuff. So pretty simple. Like I said, we'll give you like a list so you don't have to worry about it. And then we will let you know the quantity of people that we need it for, and so that's how that is. And it doesn't usually cost more than $150 for the week. So activities. Activities can be really, really simple, like board games, cards, homework help when you guys are hosting in the middle of the year, school year, I mean. Or they can be super complex. If you're hosting in the summer and you know the kids aren't in school and you want to give them something fun to do, you can do karaoke nights or scavenger hunts, or you can get really super creative with materials. They had inflatable bowling at the last church I visited. It was just inflatable pins and a big inflatable ball, and I had it for my youth group before I moved here, and they all loved it, so it was just something fun. You can play games. If you have a jungle gym around here, you can just plan to have everybody go out and hang out at the jungle gym when it's cooler, of course. We don't want anyone getting heat stroke, right? And then one of the other things that we do provide to you is our host congregation binder. So this will come to you on that Sunday. It will either be in the medicine box or the van driver will hand it to the host coordinator. The medicine box I will talk about later in our overnight hosting thing. So if you're confused, it's just a box of over-the-counter meds that I'll dive a little deeper into. And then inside here, it has non-emergent numbers that you can call. It has a notice, so if any of our families don't show up or leave early, we need to be notified via email. So that in the morning when we have a family looking for shelter, we know we have the space for them because you let us know the night before that somebody didn't come and something happened, sort of thing. Then we have a table of contents so that you can look through, and a lot of what we're talking about today is going to also be in here. So if you don't remember something that I said today, you can come into this binder and you can find that in the pages. Also, we will have our code of conduct in there. So anybody that's not here, that you know that's not here today, when they come to host, you have them fill out this code of conduct. And that's one of the only things that we require from us. And then we also ask that you please fill out your hours, that you track your hours. So you tell us what time you came in, what time you left, and also if you're cooking, to incorporate your cooking time in there as well. We want to know how much, and maybe you're not going to worry about time in and time out, and you're just going to give us the total hours. It's an either or. And so that's just one of those things. And the thing about why we track our hours is that we can ask for grants based on the hours that we have. Since we keep our costs down by utilizing congregations, it's something that helps us to get more funding to expand and different stuff like that. So it's really important. Also in here is an incident accident report, which I'll go over more. I just wanted to tell you everything that's in this lovely binder for you guys to be able to utilize, okay? And let's say somebody didn't get a chance to watch the video. Let's say somebody, didn't come to one of the trainings. Then what you can do is have them read through the packet, the stuff that's in the binder, sign the code of conduct, and then you can do a training at a later date, but they can be considered trained for that night. Trained enough for that night. Now, what I do want to talk about here is our privacy and sensitivity of the family. So one of the things about this, and it's one of those things that doesn't really need to be said, but it's always better to say it rather than have something happen, right? The circumstances of our families are always going to be different. It might be some extreme spectrum of, a six-figure employee that's company goes under, they lose their job, then they lose their home, and then they wind up with us. No rhyme or reason as to why they're there. It's just the luck of the draw kind of thing. And then we might have another end of the spectrum where every choice that that person has made has led them to where they are, kind of a thing. So these are the things that we don't know those circumstances, and we ask that you don't ask about those circumstances as well. Now the families might offer this information up anyways, and that is totally okay. And when they do open up, the biggest thing to make sure that we do when this does occur is to just listen and not to try to fix it or advise them. I don't know about you, but ladies, do you have a husband that when you tell them what's wrong, they always try to give you solutions instead of just listening to you? Anyone? No? Just me? Just me? Okay. Oh yeah, for those that raise your hand behind him. I'm coughing.
I got the cough. I knew that. That was good.
So these are just one of those things where we want to just validate what they're saying to us and how they're feeling and whatnot. It's also important that we refrain from using language like homelessness, poor, needy, any of those kinds of things. We don't want to label our families. Our families are more than the situation that they're in. It does not define them. And then respect is really important. Again, not something I really need to say, just a little explanation behind that. Parenting styles always differ. I'm sure if you have sisters and brothers, you are not sure why they parent their kids that way and all that stuff, but you respect what they do and how they do it. So we just ask for that same sort of thing here. They might be a little bit more vocal about how they discipline their children, and they might grab their kids when they're not listening. These are all things. Of course, if there is physical mental, emotional abuse that is occurring to an extreme level, we do need you to let Linda know so that Linda can let us know, okay? So Linda is our host coordinator. I'm sure all of you already know that. And she is really the conduit, the bridge between Family Promise and yourselves. And so that's really important. It also may be really difficult for our families to express their appreciation. The situation that they're in, the way that they're feeling, their emotional toll might keep them from being able to say thank you. It might cause them to complain about things that they're getting for free. And it's just something that I like to warn our congregations about, because then it's not, even if it's still shocking when it happens, you're prepared for that. This is also, and I'm kind of throwing my generation under the bus while I say this is also a generational thing where there's just a lot of entitlement issues where they just think that they deserve, the world and don't want to earn it. It's really a struggle, so that's something that you might encounter as well. So these are all just kind of things to be sensitive to and to understand. And then in addition to that, we also do want to talk about our code of conduct. Now, Linda, I'm not going to have you pass them out yet, because then people get distracted. I have a video that I'm going to show you at the end, so you guys can't leave until you see the video. And while you're watching the video, you can sign those codes of conduct and get them back to me before you leave. And the codes of conduct basically state just a few things on there. It's a long list of things. You're more than welcome to take an additional sheet if you want to read it at home. It's all very normal stuff. It's like those no-brainer kind of things. But first and foremost, under no circumstances are you to be alone with children, which is just one of those given things, right? And then the other thing is that we know that you will fall in love with our families. This is just, there's no two ways about it, especially those little kiddos' faces. Just forget about it. Heart melting every time. But we ask that you do not give them gifts, money, or gift cards of any kind. We are working on empowering these families, and sometimes these gifts, while they come from a place of awesome generosity, end up actually enabling versus empowering. We want to make sure that they understand what it takes to get where they need to go. Now that being said, let's say you guys want to do a bingo night or something, and you want to get prizes for the bingo night. Pencils, erasers, little trinkets that really don't have a whole lot of monetary value but will probably make the kids really excited about, those are fine. If a family has a need for something, like let's say they ran out of socks and you want to get them socks, that's not necessarily something we're going to be like, you can't get them socks. We just ask that whatever you get for one, you get for all, kind of a thing. If you are going to provide that. If not, you can always donate those supplies to Family Promise, and we will get those to those families. And if they say they need something and you don't feel comfortable, you think that they might be trying to get something out of you, you are always more than welcome to bring that need to us or to let them know, oh, Family Promise will give you that. You just have to go to them and ask for it. And then, because they might not realize all the things that they can get from us and ask for from us. And so that might be something that you would suggest for them to talk to us, and then let us know that they've asked for these sorts of things so that we are aware of the situation. We also ask that you wear your name badge at all times. Linda has her own personalized one because she's doing all the heavy lifting of the host coordinating, but all of you guys will have blank name tags that will basically look exactly like this except no name right here. And it'll just say volunteer at the bottom. And with an expo marker, you can write on that your name. What I ask is at the end of the night, you just erase your name from that name tag, otherwise it's hard to get off. And so that way the families know that you're meant to be there, that you're supposed to be there. And you'll get your name badge from Linda, so she'll know that you're supposed to be there, and it's one of the ways that we protect our families, right? We also ask that you please do not give out any personal contact information to these families. I actually have a family that I became pretty close to, and they started talking about inviting me over to their housewarming party and all this other stuff, and that's something that, while I do love and appreciate them, that I would not feel comfortable with, because one of the things about relationships is relationships can turn sour. They may be good today, but 6 months from now they may not look the same. And once a family leaves family promise cannot intervene on your behalf to help that situation out. So this is just one of the ways that we ask to protect ourselves, that we realize that we are with these families for a season and a reason, but not for a lifetime. Okay? That being said, if the family decides to attend a service or something that you have while you're here, and then down the line end up coming to services at your church, that is not something that you have to tell them that they can't come to, kind of thing. It's just something that you just want to make sure that you're keeping those healthy boundaries up. Okay? And then for your safety and for the families, we ask that no one transports the families in their own personal vehicles. This is a huge thing, liability. It also has to do with, he said, she said kind of a thing. So you just really want to make sure you protect yourselves in these situations. The unfortunate thing about our families is that the situations that they are in have also forced them to become people who they are really not. And that might be con artists and manipulators, because it's the only way to survive in the time that they're in that moment. And it's not who they are. We know this. It's not who they are. But it's just who they were forced to be in that moment. So, and it's hard to get out of that kind of mentality in that situation even when you're being helped. So we just want to make sure that we take anything that these families say with a grain of salt. If it's something that that worries you or something along those lines, you talk to Linda, and Linda will talk to us, and we will get to the bottom of the situation. Because it might be that they say something that they complain about family promise being strict and too many rules and all this other stuff, and the rules are there for a reason and in place, and we can't make exceptions for just one person, and that's hard for a lot of people to bear. So again, take that with a grain of salt, but anything that you are hearing, please bring it back to us, because we do want to know if there is an issue that needs to be fixed, okay? Okay, so overnight volunteers. So this is a little bit more of an in-depth job, but at the exact same time, your main job as an overnight volunteer is to sleep, okay? And so you're also there in case of an emergency, or in case there's any facilities needs that occur in that nighttime. Like I said before, the lockup is at 9 p.m. If you want to adjust this to your congregation, maybe it's 9:30 or something like that. It's up to you. Maybe it's 8:30, because the families do go to bed fairly early, especially with littler kids. Like the other night, especially on the first night too, the first night is really strange for these families when they're coming in, because they just spent a whole week at one congregation and finally felt comfortable, and now are moving to a new congregation that they're with a bunch of strangers again. And so they might retire really super early on that Sunday night, but then start to stay out longer and spend more time as the week goes on. Also, depending on the activities, a lot of times you might want to make sure that the families, I'm sorry, I just got distracted. Stupid Apple Watch when I see something that I, okay. We also just want to make sure that we respect their boundaries, and if they do choose every single night to go into their rooms, that is their choice in the matter. If you do have activities, it's not a mandatory activity, it is an invitation to an activity. And sometimes it's good to let the families know what the activities are for the whole week, so that they can kind of know and prepare. Like we had one family, or one church that just did water activities, and so they wanted to tell them ahead of time so they would bring a change of clothes. And so if it's something like that, then you want to make sure you're communicating that to those families as well. And then lights out at 10 p.m. is really important, because we have to understand that these families are waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be picked up at 5:30, so that they have plenty of time to get to their jobs, so they have plenty of time to get their kids ready in the morning for school and different stuff like that, okay? So in case of an emergency, so here's a couple of really important things. If there is a life-threatening medical emergency, or a life-threatening emergency in general, 911 is to be called. If 911 is called, an accident incident report needs to be filled out, and a phone call to the Family Promise emergency line needs to happen. Okay. If a mother or the child of a single parent family is ill, every single member of that family needs to go to the hospital with their mother, because their mother will go with the child if they're sick, and if the mother is sick, then the children need to go with them. What this entails is when you call the operator on 911, you let them know that I have a mother with 4 children. Her 4 children need to be with her at all times. If she was in an apartment by herself, the ambulance would take those kids with them. They would have to, by law. So we have to always operate as if these families are living on their own, right? So if in the middle of the night there's a kid that has an accident and wets the bed or something like that, we have to operate as if this family was on their own. So we suggest a just-in-case station so that you don't have to be woken up in the middle of the night as an overnight volunteer, because they have a table of cleaning supplies, trash bags, and new linens for them to be able to take care of that for their child, because it is up to them to be able to take care of that. And I know we always want to help, and we always want to be generous with our time and our talents and all that kind of stuff, but we also do want to make sure that we're setting these families up to be okay on their own as well, okay? So if, for whatever reason, the ambulance will not take the children, which shouldn't happen, you can ask, when you're on the phone, you can ask them to send a police officer as well, so that the police can then escort them to the hospital. Or if that still doesn't work, there is an emergency contact number. So for all overnight volunteers, this is something that will need to be put in here by the host coordinator or posted up in where the overnight host sleeps, so that you can see that there's the family cell phone number. So if the family shows up late or something like that, you can call them directly and find out, okay, why aren't you here yet, kind of a thing. And then there's also an emergency contact on that same line. So if they will not take their children, then you call this person to come and pick up their children, okay? And then worst case scenario, if they still won't answer or anything like that, then you call Family Promise and we'll assist you in how to proceed from there. If it's a 2-person family, one of the parents can stay behind with the remaining children, and the other one can go to the hospital with the child or for themselves. And it's really important that no volunteers actually go in the transport with them in case of an emergency, okay? And so the other really important thing is sometimes things happen. Moms are worried, a kid won't stop throwing up, something's happening where it's not life-threatening, but you really want somebody else to kind of let you know. If they had their own vehicle, they might then take their kids to urgent care at that point in time, but they don't have their own vehicle, so we have to figure out something else. So what we actually started providing, because somebody got yelled at for calling 911 for a non-emergency situation, we looked up all of the dispatch of the cities. So we have the city of Phoenix, we have Glendale, we have whichever one, and it might be that you're in Phoenix address, but the district you're in is Glendale or something like that. So we have all the numbers listed just in case a circumstance or situation like that occurs. There's police and fire on here. For a medical thing, you would call the fire department and they would send out an aid car, a paramedic, to assess the situation. If they said, oh no, it's fine, you can wait till the morning and take them in the morning, it's not going to make a difference, then they will go on their way and then you guys go back to sleep, kind of a thing. Otherwise, if they do take the family, an incident report needs to be filled out and a phone call to the Family Promise emergency line needs to happen, okay? Those are all worst case scenarios. It's very, very rare that something like that will happen. I think in the 9 years that Ted Taylor, our executive director, has been there, there's only been a couple of situations that's happened in 9 years. So just to kind of put your minds at ease. But we like to prepare you guys for the worst so that you don't worry about it when it comes, right? So the medicine box, like I mentioned before, that is over-the-counter medicine that is in a toolbox. So that it has simple first aid in there. It has, for tummy aches, headaches, that kind of stuff, cold, cough. We have all the things in there. However, we ask that you, how that box is transported is it goes from the van driver to the host coordinator, from the host coordinator to the overnight host, and from the overnight host back to the van driver, okay? And so there's a key that's attached to the box. The first thing that you do is you take that key off of the box and put it on your person. Then you transfer that key to the overnight host as well, Linda, or if somebody else is kind of taking charge for that evening. And then the most important thing about the box is that we ask that you do not prescribe or advise any kind of medicine. If somebody comes up to you and says, my kid's tummy hurts, what should I give them? Then you direct them to the box and let them know that they can read the labels, that the symptoms are included on those labels, and that they can find the best medicine for that. Then you also want to gently point out that if it's for a child, there is a child dosage, just in case they're a new mom and maybe don't know these sorts of things. So you can kind of, there's a little guidance that can happen, but we really don't want any prescribing or advising to go on in that sense, because then there's liability issues that come with that as well. And so they the adult is the only one that's able to come and take that medicine out for their children. And then they can be responsible for doing the proper dosage. Even if it is a teenager, you just want to ask their parent to come and get that for them. Okay? Okay, so laundry volunteers. This can be a one-person task, or you can invite the entire congregation to help out with this. On the Sunday, at the end of their week, you can ask them to strip their beds and put all the linens inside their pillowcase. Then you can put those pillowcases in the sanctuary, and you can make an announcement to the congregation, please take one pillowcase home with you, wash it, and bring it back next Sunday. And you can get the laundry done that way, or you can designate one specific person who will just do the laundry for you and take their time to do it. You will host about once a quarter, so you won't necessarily need that to be done in immediacy, kind of a thing. However, this laundry volunteer might also be somebody that helps you with the linens during the week. If you have a set amount of linens and there's a chronic bedwetter, okay, then you might need to wash sheets during the week in order to have the fresh supply that you need. So you might want to see if that volunteer that signs up for laundry would be willing to do that as well. Okay? All right, any questions? Yes?
One of the questions I have is about nightly grooming and supplies for that, or, we have just our regular public restrooms right here.
You're more than welcome to put out like a toiletry kit, or like a, sometimes you'll go into bathrooms and they'll have like deodorant or stuff like that for the evening.
But do they have like overnight stuff with them when they come?
Yes, they're instructed to bring whatever they might need. And the recommendation of having something in the bathroom might be feminine supplies, or something that they might have forgotten, or might have been a surprise and they weren't expecting it. All the families with babies are instructed to get the diapers and the stuff that they would need. Depending on when you get your family list, if you wanted to maybe have some of those as backup, it's completely up to you. It's not necessary, because they are instructed to get what they need, and it is up to them to make sure that they do so. And we give them plenty, so that even if they have multiple accidents in the middle of the night, that they should have plenty to combat that. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
About the medication, if they were to come to us and say, their teenager has a headache, and they're looking at the bottles, do they take the whole bottle? Do you send the whole bottle with the parent?
No,
just
you
take
want
what
them.
they need,
Yes.
and then the bottle stays with the box.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So you just want to make sure you're kind of you're moderating in a sense, where
Okay.
you're just kind of there so that they don't take the whole bottle.
Okay.
Because you want to make sure that they're only taking the dosage as well. They're not allowed to take extra dosages for work or any of that kind of stuff. They have to get that from us at the day center. Okay? Yes.
Well, along with the laundry thing,
Mhm.
do you have a list of if certain people have allergies to certain laundry soaps? stuff like that, or?
It's very rare that that does occur. If it does for whatever reason, I've never had that happen, but if it does for whatever reason, it might be something that we have a lot of laundry detergent at our place. So it might be that they come in that day and say, hey, my kid's really sensitive to detergent, and we have a free and clear laundry detergent. And so we say, okay, here's a set of sheets. Wash these in that detergent and bring them with you, so then you have that. So it's not necessarily something that you have to worry about. It's something we might take care of on our end.
Oh.
And then we would just communicate that to you and like let you know. And let's say that they did wake up and it was because of a very perfumey laundry detergent or something. Then it might be that you can say, oh, you can go ahead and bring those sheets to the day center and wash them with the free clear detergent and then bring them back tonight. Or you can offer to do that yourselves if you so please. It's really, that's one of those things where you can empower, you can be hospitable. It's up to you. Yeah.
I do, the dinner, I understand that part. The lunch and the breakfast, how does that work?
So when it comes back on Monday, there's a communal fridge that they all use. And in the communal fridge, then they're up there. It's usually if the kids have to go to school, it's the parents' job or the kids' job to pack their lunches for school. And so they pack a lunch to take with them to school. Or if the parent is working, they pack something for themselves to take to work with them.
So you have the supplies ready for them to pack their lunch?
Yes, you
Or
do
for
not
them
have to do
eat their
any prep
breakfast?
work for it. Yeah, and so the breakfast might be, we might ask for a carton of eggs so that they can cook those
So
eggs in
just
the
having
microwave.
supplies available to them to do it.
Yes, you don't have to put together any of those lunches yourselves, because we want to make sure that they put together what they want to.
And those supplies are at the Family Promise
Yes,
Center. They're
Yes.
not here.
they're only
We're sending
here
those
until
supplies
you
to
send
you.
them. Yeah,
Right.
and when they're here, and
Those
so
supplies
this-
are being sent to Family Promise.
something
for
that I,
lunches
But
and
we're
breakfast.
purchasing them.
yes, correct.
So you give us a list for what to purchase?
Correct. And so that's something else actually that I did want to add on. So that's the 150, but you might have raised other funds to purchase maybe milk for the week for here, juice for the week for here. Maybe you decide that you want to make life easier and get disposable cutlery and plates and all that kind of stuff. You can also ask that supply volunteer to purchase those items when they're out purchasing the rest. You just want to provide more funds for them to be able to purchase those in case it goes over the 150.
And one thing that wasn't stated earlier about meals, but we're not to serve sodas.
Correct. And
Is
if it
Kool-Aid
happens
okay?
once in a while as a treat, like I know somebody made root beer floats as their dessert for
Right.
them. So it's mainly we want to try to stay away from the caffeine, and we're trying to give them healthier choices. But that actually was a complaint by one of the families. They're like, how come nobody ever gives us soda? It's like, because we told them not to. And so it's just, we don't want soda every night, but if you do it as a treat on a Friday night, we're not going to.
Just
That's
like
my
what
So the drinks would be like just milk and water, or?
Milk, water, you can have juice, some lemonade, the standards, church. The Crystal Light lemonade, or the, what is it, Nature-Aid, or the Country Time, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I know, that is not exactly healthy, but like fresh juice and stuff like that. And it's better to just have milk and water, but, nowadays, even things that are healthy, like fresh squeezed orange juice, is very high in sugar itself, so it's really hard to figure out what is and isn't healthy. Everybody reacts differently to different foods as well. Any other questions so far? No? Okay, Linda, at this time, let's go ahead and pass out the codes of conduct. And I'm going to go ahead and start the video that we have next. What's really important is that everything that we're doing, this whole training and everything that you guys have to come, it accomplishes a goal. And what that goal is for our families to have sustainable housing and sustainable
I'm
work.
giving you an
And
extra
when we have
just so
both
that
of
you have
those
one to
things,
read.
we do have what we call graduations from our program. And what I'm going to show you is a compilation. It's a thank you and a graduation compilation, okay?
say, once you become family at Family Promise, you will always be family. Monique, you and your family are no longer welcome here as clients at Family Promise. You did that right? Yeah. But you'll always be welcome here as family. We want you to come back and help us. To help more families who got into this situation so that we can help them graduate as well. Okay? So once again, congratulations. To do something unique and special for our families. So it shows this silver star. And on this silver star, there's one word. It's the word that we believe was the most important word for the families that we serve. And that one word is family. Only a family that graduates from Family Promise will get. There is no staff member that has ever gotten the silver star. There is no volunteer or board member. The President of the United States does not have one of these stars.
Situation does not define your family or you. But one thing the Family Promise will do is build and strengthen your family. I don't think Brody and I have ever been so close, but I feel like our family is stronger. And if those of you who are just starting your journey, I'll tell you it's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it.
And so I just wanted to welcome you to the Family Promise family as well. And thank you.
Thank you.
And if you guys have any questions about the code of conduct as well, you can let me know.